Hi, I'm Ryan Castle. Welcome to the Level 10 Leaders Podcast. We're going to be breaking down the systems, habits, and mindset shifts used by EOS leaders to crush their growth goals and achieve Level 10 success. If you're a visionary, integrator, or leader of a fast-growing team, this podcast is going to get you to 100% strong. Hit subscribe, stay tuned, and let's get started on the journey to learn, lead, and level up. Dan Kasper, great to have you on the Level 10 Leaders Podcast. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Ryan, super stoked to be here. Thanks for having me, man.
Now, I'm excited for this conversation. We've had the opportunity to talk about what you're building with Piloteer.ai. Incredible tech, I think, such a great option for improving our human performance as leaders. And we're going to get to that. We're going to expose the audience to Piloteer.ai. But as we dive into this, let me hit you with a few fast fact questions and have the audience get to know you a little bit. Alrighty, breakfast or dinner?
I'm a breakfast guy.
Yeah? What was on the menu this morning?
I'm a smoothie guy in the mornings. I do rapid fire smoothies, but my heart is a breakfast burrito. I will never say no to that.
Okay, I love both those. One's super efficient.
Yeah.
The other one's just pure joy in the mornings.
That's exactly it. One for each type of morning.
Okay. On holiday, are we likely to find you bungee jumping or hanging out on the pool lounger with a romance novel?
Well said. It's going to be more of the former. So I'm an adrenaline guy. I can't get enough of it. I've been bungee jumping. I ride dirt bikes. Anything, I snowboard. Anything that has going fast or has some kind of adrenaline, I'm hooked on it.
I love that.
Yeah.
All right. When it comes to learning, what's your preferred mode of learning? Do you like books? Do you like videos? What's your style?
I'm a doer. So I really like learning by doing, but I would say how I get into that is I've been really into podcast audio learning while I'm walking my dogs or, just kind of going through traffic. I'll throw in some audiobooks, podcasts, similar to what we got going on here and just digest as we go along.
I love that. Well, I feel like you've just answered the next question, which was cats or dogs. It's clearly dogs.
I'm a dog guy. Yeah.
What breed are the dogs?
Bernese mountain dogs, 2 big mouth breathers, lots of fur, have to have a diesel powered vacuum, but they're great.
I just spent the weekend with a Burmese mountain dog crossed with a poodle. It was
the
crazy dog.
Yeah.
Huge. Just like I nicknamed him Doofus because that just seemed to be his personality.
They are. Yep. It fits. Yep. Big derps.
Yep. Nice. Alrighty. Routine, early riser or night owl?
Early riser. Yep. Very much a morning routine guy. Get up at 4:40 in the morning. I have that dialed, and my kind of morning meditation happens at the gym. So I get over there, get some me time in, get some thinking time in, so I can be more productive here.
I'm going to have to adjust to keep up. You're beating me to the start by 5 minutes. I'm 4:45. So
well, that's why I heard you get up at 4:45. So I just had to, exactly.
Always 1 hour thing.
No, I'm just kidding. Okay. No, that's great. Yeah.
When you get some downtime, if you're doing some entertainment, what genre would we be? Thriller, drama, comedy?
Yeah, I would say dramas, actions. Those are probably my go-to. I like kind of period stuff too. Like I've been into like Vikings. That's kind of a period that's really interesting to me. The Middle Ages always interested to me. Braveheart's my number one movie. I just can't get it. I'll watch it routinely. So.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I guess you've lived the analogy a little bit of burning the boats like the Vikings used to do.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I'm in that kind of mode right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Dan, I'm so excited because you have such a wealth of experience in leadership. You had a significant career in the military. You're a Navy SEAL. I think we've discussed so many lessons to come from that. If we were to kind of take all those things you've had exposure to, try and distill them down to 2 or 3 things that have really made a difference for you as you've thought about leadership on the way through your career, what would be 2 or 3 things that we could dig into today?
Yeah, amazing. And super happy to be here, Ryan. Thanks for having me. As just like you and probably a lot of people listening to the podcast, I'm obsessed with building high performing teams. Like I genuinely can't get enough of it. It's such an art and a science. I've had the opportunity to lead teams in 33 countries around the world. I've been on some of the best teams. I've been on some of the worst teams. And so like you, I think it's always this obsession with how do we get 1% better each day? How do we, slowly fine tune the details? In my opinion, like the difference between good and great are those details too. So lots of insights I'm sure you and I could chat about for days. A couple that kind of resonate with me in terms of like what's timely today for leaders in today's environment. The first of which is be a chameleon with a backbone. So what the heck does that even mean? If you think about a chameleon, they adapt to its landscape. And today's environment is multivariate. Like leaders are leading teams in Japan in one meeting, then they get on another Zoom and they're talking to a team in Switzerland, they're talking to sales teams, engineering teams. But it's also important to be you. Like authenticity is such an incredible, powerful trait and behavior in leaders. So what that means and what I encourage leaders from my perspective to do is be this chameleon with a backbone. So have a series of principles that are unwavering to you. What are your values as a leader? What gets you out of bed? How do you operate? And it may be different from other people, and that's totally fine. These principles, no matter what situation you're in, you don't compromise on that, but you play them out differently based upon your environment. So for example, I have a series of principles and values that make me me. It's how I lead no matter what. I do not compromise on that. But if I was leading my team now, when I run a tech startup, like I did as a platoon commander in the Navy, they would just leave. They would be like, who is this guy? I'm leaving immediately. So it's still me, but being able to adapt, I think today's environment is super critical and timely. So the more that we can encourage and really think intentionally, these are my principles, but adapt them to different scenarios, I think the better leaders we can be in today's environment.
Dan, can you share an example of a principle that you have and maybe how you would adapt that principle in those two scenarios of a platoon commander heading into a incredibly life-threatening situation versus, sometimes our business environments can feel maybe not life-threatening, but certainly critically important. What's one principle that you would kind of call on and adapt in those two different scenarios?
Yeah, decision making would be one. I'm really big in leaders like making decisions and even the hard calls. Unfortunately, I've seen a lot of leaders today, they try to pass that off and it's not a great look. Decision making is super important. And so how I would adapt and what I guess the principle for me is, being that guide, the leader making the decisions in the spot. When stress gets high and, for example, you're getting shot at, you don't have time to be polite and you don't have time. In fact, the military even teaches you because of how combat happens and the stress, auditory exclusion happens. You're physically touching people to talk to them, to let them know you're yelling, and you're just very direct and in the moment. So that's one thing where kind of my communication will also, I guess maybe the underlying trait is more communication. Like I'm very big on how we communicate, but it's going to be different in the military environment or even in a business environment where stress is high. If something happened, if there's a bug that needs to get fixed or power's down in your system, whatever that may be, you may have to change your communication to be different than if you're doing a brainstorming session, for example, or coming into a meeting and not actually, touching base with the other person. What's on their mind? How are you? Like, let's connect as humans before we can get into things. So I guess the underlying trait would be communication, which I'm really big on. It's going to be applied differently based upon different variables like that.
I love that insight. And how do you think about the scenario of sometimes a leader, there is no time for discussion here. Someone needs to make a call. I'm going to take responsibility for that. And I know the accountability and impact of those decisions is very high. On the flip side, teams grow very well where they feel like they have input to the situation. I have a friend that refers to it, the team that makes the plan keeps the plan.
Yeah.
How do you blend that into your kind of leadership style?
I don't think they're mutually exclusive, actually. And even if I'm thinking about my time in the Navy, I've been in war rooms where couple star generals are making huge decisions that with major global impacts of the missions we're about to hit, and just watching them navigate the scenario, the good ones, which you are at that level, they still take input. They slow down for a second. They take input. They go through the room from their advisors, but then they shot call and they say, I've taken the input and then here's what we're going with that decision too. So yeah, I think they don't have to be mutually exclusive. I think the best teams do take input and take that pause before they make the big decision. But at the end of the day, it's the leader's decision. And they're called a commander for a reason. So start to command. And so I think that lack of decision making too can cause ripple effects, but it's still super important to feel seen and heard. And that may show up differently too in different types of environments, different stress levels, different energy, brainstorming sessions, etc. So that kind of again ties back into these factors, these behaviors, these elements are important to leaders, but they're just going to be applied differently based upon the variables at hand.
Yeah. So again, coming back to how you framed it at the beginning, a chameleon with a backbone is like the backbone piece is be sure and confident in what you're doing. You're going to have to make some hard calls as a leader, so be prepared to do that and live with the consequences of those decisions. But be adaptive in your scenario. That's a great insight. Alrighty, give us another one, Dan. What's another thing you've learned on your journey?
Yeah, let's go. This is another one that I've seen a lot these days. Is just like, I see people get promoted or in positions, and now that they're leaders, and they think that the world now reports to them. This is exactly what they've been working for, and now it's finally their time to command and it just exhausts me. I'm like, hey, your time as a leader is going to be seconds. And everyone sees the hierarchy, the traditional hierarchy where it's this triangle and the CEO or the leader sits on top and everyone reports in. I think that's complete garbage. And I think what you should do for any successful leader that I've ever worked for, and I can say that very wholeheartedly, they flip the traditional hierarchy. Great leaders visualize themselves at the bottom and that they work for their team. And that simple mindset shift is so powerful for your team because they know that you're a priority. You work for them. Your goal is mission clarity. Your goal is to set that goal to give people swim lanes so they know where to operate. Your goal is to remove roadblocks. And at the end of the day, your goal as a leader is to facilitate your team being able to do the best work of their life. Like a lot of people that think, oh, I finally made it. Leaders, you should be working harder. Like this is because your people are there. And just even having that mindset shift, people can sense that. They can say, hey, how can I support you? What else can I do? What did I miss? How can I help with what you're working on now? These little questions instead of demands or little pieces to know that you're supporting your team. And it's not just you report for me. They're immediately going to elevate you to the top of the podium anyways, but it comes from organically. It comes from them versus the positional authority.
Dan, one of the things we've observed in a number of clients we work with is people get promoted to a leadership position and actually fundamentally they're lacking skills and confidence to do the job well. So they'll often revert to two ends of the continuum. One, the commander. I don't really know what I'm doing, but I think I'm supposed to be bossing people around. So let's just do lots of yelling and shouting and telling people what to do. Or the other one is, I really don't know quite what to do as a leader. So I'm going to go hide in the corner. I'll just kind of keep doing my job and hope the team figures it out. Mm-hmm. Of course, neither end of the continuum is a winner.
Yeah, exactly.
I think your ability to flip the hierarchy also requires you to have a skill set and some confidence around capabilities and being a leader. And we see people flourish when we help them build those skills as a leader. They grow with confidence, and then that confidence doesn't turn into arrogance. It allows them to do things like flip the hierarchy and support their team a lot better because they're not like, oh, am I supposed to be doing something different as a leader? It really, really helps. So I like flip the hierarchy. We've all heard the term servant leadership. I think that all blends in well. But these people also need some skills and capability to go along with the title.
Yeah, really well said. And to your point too, like it's just interesting how we systemically are like, hey, you're good at your job. Now we're promoting you to a leader. Congrats. And it's just such a different, and we also know there's so much data around how the team leader impacts performance, whether it be retention, whether it be productivity. And then we're wondering, well, why isn't our team performing? Well, because we're not investing in developing our leaders. At the end of the day, I don't care how much money you've raised as a business. I don't care the coolest product in the world. Your product, your company will sink unless you can get people to row the boat in the same direction, which is now more than ever. If we look at like the World Economic Forum, they came out with a list recently of like, hey, what are those skills? And I know we've chatted about this before that are critical for 2030 in 5 years. 9 of the 11 of those are core skills or what has historically been soft skills, things like communication, leadership, so it's just such an interesting point, and it's coming full circle on us. Is like, this is something that needs training. It needs to have experience. You need to learn about this as a way to truly optimize any performance for your organization.
Yeah. and the view that the only true differentiation you can have as an organization is your people, because ultimately everything else will get caught up. You develop a really cool piece of tech, someone else will figure out how to develop something equally as good or something next. So if your differentiator is not your people, you're always going to get caught up and surpassed by someone who's building high performing teams.
So good. Yeah. And very relevant today too, with like how the speed of things in AI, like defensibility for organizations it's becoming more about speed and more about your people and your team. So you can read and react more than ever. So completely agree.
Yeah. You just like totally freak me out when you're like, oh, 2030 skills you're going to need in 2030. And I'm thinking, oh yeah, 2030, that's ages away. And then I'm like, wow, it's literally like less than 5 years away. Like,
I know.
Far out.
Yeah, so wild.
Quick break. If you're serious about scaling your EOS business, listen up. Here's the truth. Most companies stall because their managers can't lead. We built a system to fix it. At Level 10 Leaders, we turn managers into leaders so you can step back, scale up, or sell with confidence. Here's a quick win. Take 3 minutes to get a data-driven report of your team's LMA, leadership, management, and accountability strength. Uncover your biggest growth gaps. Take the LMA quiz now at lvl10.us/LMA. It's fast, and it'll show you exactly where your team is getting stuck. Let's get back into the podcast. In our world today, we're overwhelmed with knowledge, access to knowledge. It used to be the only way you could go and find this knowledge was go to the library, and I'm probably aging myself massively here, but now we have podcasts, we have billions of hours of YouTube video of how we can learn. We have books. How does one go from the kind of theoretical aspect of learning how to be a leader into actually becoming a really good one?
Oh, such a good question. And how I like to position the work that I'm doing too, and I know it's similar, it rings true to you, is like there's thought leadership and there's thought doership.
I like that.
And there's a difference there. And so what every environment that I've taught in and been thrown into, the most that I've learned is through doing. Not to say it hasn't come with a lot of studying as well, but at the end of the day, you're going to learn, you're going to fail, you're going to flop, you're going to succeed, and you're going to piece together so much faster by just kind of getting in. So like, how do we position ourselves as leaders? Not as, you can talk about leadership, and we're doing it now, right? But at the end of the day, we're talking about things because we want to activate. And so I always have this analogy about, leadership is kind of like swimming. In my Navy days, we did a fair amount of that. I'm not great at it. It's kind of like I beat the water into submission, but I got through. And so if you think about it, like you're never going to learn to swim by just reading a book. You got to jump in the water and you got to swim at some point. Now, with that said, is it going to help to read a book first? Yeah, of course it is. You read the book, you get some foundational, then you got to jump in the water and you're going to flounder. But what if there's ways that you could bring a coach with you into that water? So they're going to watch your stroke. And then they're going to say, well, instead of, having your, hand way out here, bring it closer to your body. It's more hydrodynamic, for example. So similar things in leadership, right? So we need to educate ourselves. Absolutely. It's going to be, but instead of waiting to jump on there, we got to jump in the water. And then and then once we're in there, how do we have the right coach with us in the moment that can help have this circle, right? Because then we learn so much faster when we debrief, we get more like, here, let's try this next skill. And if we're looking at literally the science of building a high performing team, that's it. You need the super fast feedback loops. You need to have the coaching. You need to chat with people that have been there and done that. And you can take things from there's leaders that I've worked for that are terrible, but I still reference them and how not to do things. So that's, I think, the environment we're in today too, is like, how do we create this hyper fast training loop, but you got to jump into the water.
Yep. Love that jump in the water. You can't tell from the book alone. And think if we take that swimming analogy further, if we look at a Olympic swimmer, they are in the pool for hours and hours every day.
Yep.
And it's not because they're still trying to learn how to swim. They're trying to get that 1 millimeter, that 1% better every day. And we see that as we build skills and start layering them, our scenarios around us change. So maybe you start off as a leader and you've got 5 people you're leading. You get to that next level of success, and now you've got maybe leaders that are reporting to you that are then leading other people. So the adaptation of your leadership skills needs to keep growing. Just like we jump in the water, maybe we start initially learning how to swim freestyle, but then we also want to build a skill that we can do backstroke. And I was going to say butterfly, but it just looks way too hard. Butterfly.
Exactly. I just look like I'm slowly dying in the water.
Yeah.
That stroke. Yeah.
Hey, Dan, I want to take us on just a little segue because I'm just like so curious about this. You referenced that you weren't a great swimmer, and it kind of almost sounds a little funny given that you're a Navy SEAL. Take me into the mindset. You're in SEAL selection, you're cold, you're tired, you're hungry, exhausted, I imagine. What are you telling yourself in your head? What is your mindset to keep swimming, to keep carrying the boat, to keep helping your teammates?
I mean, there's so much psychology of it, and it directly applies to everything that I bring to my environment now too. One, you need a why. If you don't have that why, what drives you, everything is for naught. So what drives you? You need, and always align to that. Like what is that kind of way of head? Also, failure is not like, I really told myself, and this is the truth. It was a decision I made. Like the only way I'm getting off this training field is if I'm in a freaking ambulance. It's the only way. And that was something like I just wouldn't compromise on myself. So that's kind of it's a mental game. 99.9% of, military training at that level is a mental game, which you think really? And like, 100%, they will break you so fast physically. They'll find within the first 6 hours your weakness and they're going to play into it and they're going to break you. It's just how it is. But the goal is like to push you to your boundaries and then see how you mentally deal with it and see how you come together as a team. How do you leverage each other's strengths when you need it? Because you're only as strong as the weakest person on your team. So a little bit of a tip that I still apply really frequently to my experience is the concept of micro wins and celebrating micro wins. If we think like, oh my God, I have 2 months left of this section of training, you're going to be overwhelmed and you're just going to go in the dumps. But if I say, oh, I just got to run to this next light pole, cool, micro win, celebrate that, and then I got to run to the next light pole. And then next thing you know, you're 6 miles down the beach and so like, how do we think about that even within our working environments? Like, it's an infinite game. If you read that book by Simon Sinek, Building Businesses, like there's no end to this. There's no set rules to it, which makes it arguably harder than training when you have a singular focus. So how do we celebrate how we set these milestones? How do we celebrate these micro wins? Because that's at the end of the day, how we get to the end of an infinite game.
I love that. Yep. So good. So good. Okay, let's talk about Piloteer.ai, the business that you are building, playing the infinite game on that one. Yeah. Can you share with our audience what Piloteer.ai is about and what you're trying to help solve and achieve?
Yeah, it ties into really everything that we're doing today. So my passion, as you know, is building high-performing teams. I really approach that from an intersection of technology, meaning how do we use the most cutting-edge technology to solve the most human problems? I think far too long, technology has pushed us away. It has made us divisive as humans. It has tried to replace us as humans, and I think about it foundationally different. I think if done correctly, and that is a big caveat, I think technology can really unlock the next level of high-performing teams and understand human behavior unlike we've ever thought possible because of the technology and where it's at. So the concept of Piloteer is actually relationship intelligence. So we're building sensing AI models, which we're just telling AI and training AI how to understand human behavior like you do when you're in a coaching call, Ryan. We're looking at what you're saying, how you're saying it, the tone, the sentiment, and we're able to quantify behaviors that have been super hard to quantify in the past that are directly tied to leadership outcomes, and we're able to help you improve it. And one of the key things is we're not out to replace coaches. And so kind of back to the swimming analogy, we're going to be that partner that can be in the water with you at all points in time, but we're going to hand our data over to your coach and to you so we can give you that real-time feedback. We can show you how your self-awareness is showing out. We can say, hey, when your tone went up here, your team picked that up as you being undecisive. We can look at how you're interacting with others. So again, the concept of what we're building is how do we use this technology to get in when we're actually leading in the moments that matter? And then how do we feed that data to yourself and coaches so we can improve, just like having that coach your swim coach in the water with you.
Oh, I love this. So if I just extend the swimming analogy a bit more, the AI could be watching my swim stroke and going, hey, look, for optimal performance, my elbow needs to be an inch higher and at a 5-degree different angle to get maximum performance. Bring that to the technology watching me in a leadership situation. As you've explained, it can be doing things like watching my tone of voice. Am I making eye contact? Suggesting that maybe I'm dominating the conversation too much. You had a meeting and you talk for 95% of the time. Probably not a win. So giving that kind of feedback. Is that kind
You absolutely nailed it. Yeah. So think of us, we'll keep in the swim analogy because it's working for us. Think of us as like your underwater robot that's following you along as you swim. Your coach topside, critical, right? But he can't see or she can't see the game time footage, what we kind of call ourselves, like underwater. You can't see that exact moment where your elbow's at. So we're going to give you that. And then we're also going to give the data to your coach and you. So if you think about let's say any professional sports team, they have that game time footage, right? And we just don't have that in our communication world. But so how do we get it and use technology? Because of course you could go sit in meetings, right? But how it's going to be expensive. It's going to be hard for you to pick up on all the things. And so how can we use technology to build more scalability into this and then give you and your clients the right data at the right time? So it becomes, again, this instantaneous feedback loop. So you can make these gains, you can measure it, we can quantify our ROI together, and we have very specific things to work on together.
I love this. We've been talking in our business a lot about the power of AI plus HI being human intelligence.
Love it.
And then I think there's got to be a plus the heart as well. Because whilst we're always increasing performance and capability, ultimately our team members also want to be observed as humans. They want to be connected to purpose. So I think the three of those together are a wildly powerful combination.
Oh, okay. So well said. And I think you brought up a really good point too, is like, this is human, like it needs to be human centric. And so the details matter. How we think about building the models, how we think about training them, it's just so critical for us because there's so many nuances to us as humans, and the complexity of who we are is something we need to be embraced. And from a sociology, anthropology lens, like there's ways that we can take the foundational humanness and then just use technology to make sure it represents that effectively.
Okay. Takes us into some detail, Dan. How does this work? Do I have to be wearing some weird piece of headgear and a heart rate monitor to kind of get this feedback? How does it actually work?
Yeah, it's like FBI, you got to speak into the... No, it's actually... So there's a couple of different ways. So one of which for virtual meetings, you can just connect your calendar, you toggle on and off which meetings you want Piloteer to join, and it joins just like your note taker that's in here now. It's pretty simple. Another way is we have a plugin. Basically, you download it natively to your computer. This is actually the next evolution of it because of the technology, security, and also way. So you can toggle it on and off, and then you don't have a bot join the meeting. It also allows some really cool like real-time feedback too. So you don't have to wait till after like, oh, you should have done this in the meeting. Well, shoot, if I would have known that in the meeting, I could have changed the outcomes. And so we actually can give you, as you're leading, course corrections, calibrations, things to do, to say, to question, which has been really interesting to see we can changing outcomes along the way too.
Yeah, I'm fascinated to imagine a scenario where you're giving some real-time feedback to a leader saying they're talking too much and they just stop talking. Like that must be a bit of a derailer for the meeting.
Yeah, timing is still like the details matter. So what we learned, we failed a lot along the way too, as we do. So we actually were texting people in app, and then it would actually decrease their active listening scores because they would pick up their phone and look at the message, and there would be this weird pause. Or then we would give the suggestion when they were talking, and they would stop, just like you said. So now we actually time the pop-ups to be a break when they're talking, so they can focus more on it. So little things like this is just really interesting to see how it comes to life.
Right. And Dan, so you're this Navy SEAL, business leader, dirt bike riding, dog walking dude. Are you also like a PhD in AI as well?
No, I'm a school from Hard Knocks. I just have my undergrad, but I do work with a lot of sharp people that have the research. So my co-founder, for example, he went to Berkeley for machine learning. He actually got recruited by UK Ministry of Defense to write models that predict human behavior. And then NATO picked him up as well to write models that understand human behavior. So he's got the research background. He's probably one of the best in the world at writing AI models that understand human behavior. So he's the big brain. I can barely color inside the lines, but we work well together.
Amazing. Yeah. And just help me get my head around this. Who do you think of as your customer for Piloteer.ai. So clearly leaders that are, literally in the field, the business field, kind of being observed and being able to get this feedback. Do you think of them as your customer, or do you think more of the coach as your customer?
Actually, the latter. We're really excited about being the tech-powered solution to help power coaches and consultants. So there's a lot of AI technology out there. We can get into the deltas, but really their angle is, hey, I want to replace coaches. Our goal is not that at all. In fact, having seen Piloteer use first time with a coach, my jaw was on the ground. It was like this surgical. They were using the data, they were bringing it to their coaching and clients, and it changed their whole go-to-market strategy from early on. And so our goal is, like, we know AI is coming. We want to be involved in doing it correctly, but we want to work with coaches. Like, I've been working with performance coaches for 20 years. I'm still working with one now, but then how can we teleport the coaches to the AI age? How can we help them to quantify the work? How can we help them stand out from the crowds? And then how can we give them the data, the game time data that they need to maybe coach more and then improve their coaching? So that's really who we're thinking about, is how do we be the tech provider to help augment coaches? And then together, of course, we'll go forth and serve companies together.
Brilliant. And Dan, if people want to learn more about Piloteer.ai, I imagine one resource is the website.
Yep.
So Piloteer.ai.
That's it.
Head there, take a look at that. Where else should people connect with you?
Check us out on LinkedIn. We do post pretty frequently, and we're trying to build a community like you are too. We're really excited about being on this podcast and just, how do we create this community of coaches and people that want to get better, that want to use technology. So Piloteer, if you just search for us on LinkedIn, the logo looks like a little P with a satellite kind of concept. That's us. Follow us, and we'd love to chat further too with anyone.
That's great, Dan. And we'll also make sure we put the link to your LinkedIn in the show notes so people can access it nice and easily in there. Hey, Dan, this has been such an interesting chat. I feel like I could talk to you for days. Your level of experience, you must have some crazy stories from leading in 33 countries. And I imagine you could share some ones that you wouldn't have to kill me afterwards. That's the
totally. But it's been super fun. Like, again, it's how level 10 and you specifically, Ryan, are thinking about leadership in today's environment. It truly stands out too. So the community that you're building is exactly the ones that we want to be a part of to lead this charge. Like, things are changing in a good way. And how do we keep our humanity through this change in a way that just is received better by the current multivariate environments that we're in?
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Dan. Deep appreciation for joining us today. It's been a wonderful chat, and can't wait to see where Piloteer goes. And we're going to get in and have a play with that technology and see how we can add it to our arsenal as well. So thanks, Dan. It's been awesome.
Thanks, Ryan. Cheers.
Disclaimer: Level 10 Leaders is an independent podcast and leadership development platform. It is not affiliated with, endorsed by, or sponsored by EOS Worldwide LLC. EOS, the Entrepreneurial Operating System, Level 10 Meeting, and related trademarks are trademarks of EOS Worldwide and are used here for informational purposes only. Thanks for tuning in to Level 10 Leaders. If today's episode hit home, here's what you need to do. Take the LMA quiz. Go to lvl10.us/LMA. It's fast and reveals what's holding you back. Hit subscribe and share this with one person who needs to break through the ceiling and crush their growth goals. Stay tuned for the next episode, where we'll show you exactly how to level up to level 10.